Mr. Schoen, are you ready for us to start? Is that a yes? Okay, I will. Let's bring our meeting to order. First thing, let's get up and say the Pledge of Allegiance and then have an invocation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Dear Lord, when we sit in chambers of decision-making, we pray that we are guided by a spirit of fairness and justice. Let us uphold the rights and dignity of every individual, regardless of background or circumstances. May our choices reflect your divine wisdom and your unwavering commitment to justice. Amen. Okay, first thing on our agenda is to approve the minutes of the September 11th meeting. Somebody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I move that we accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
That one is. All right. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. I guess we get started with our legislative item, Mr. Schoen.
Good evening. The first item we have for you tonight is the Shorey Small-Scale Future Land Use Map Amendment with rezoning. This project was reviewed by Ayana, so I'm going to ask her to introduce it for you.
Okay, good evening. Ayana Reed, Walton County Planning and Development. This is Shorey SSA with rezoning. This is a request to approve by ordinance project number FLU 24-000-002. This is a future land use with rezoning application submitted by Solution Partners LLC on behalf of Blake Shorey and LTD LLC, requesting to change the future land use from conservation residential to general agriculture or a lesser category, and to change the zoning district from conservation residential 1 to 2.5 to general agriculture or a lesser district on 36 plus or minus acres. The property is in District 5, located on the west side of North Church Street, approximately 1.6 miles north of West Nursery Road, and is identified by the parcel numbers in your staff report. May I enter the staff report and the first document of your handouts, and recently received public comments all into the record?
So entered.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry, I lost my staff report.
Hate it when that happens. I said I hate it when that happens.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, this is Shorey SSA with rezoning. I just want to provide a little bit of a background on this parcel, given that it was tabled and it's been sitting out of development review for a while. So I just want to remind everyone what's been happening with this project. So our applicant came back with a resubmittal because based on the minutes from the BCC meeting from December 19th of 2024, the commissioners did express concerns about the request. And from my understanding, it was kicked out of BCC back to PC, and the applicant was given an opportunity to come back with some revisions and reconsiderations. Also, this board voted on it during the PC meeting of December 12th, 2024. And it was recommended for approval for 6-0, 6 yeas, 0 nays. So I just want to keep that in mind. The applicant, there really hasn't been much that's changed regarding what they submitted, besides thinking of things from a different perspective, submitting additional renderings, which they'll have an opportunity to present on that. The density request has not changed. The intensity request has not changed. They did include additional documentation regarding the conservation easement, which is not a part of the request of this application. The conservation easement, as I was told by the applicant, is to show where it is located relative to the parcels that are being proposed under this application. And because there's a conservation easement, the covenants run with the land, therefore there's no development proposed for the conservation area. Another thing to note, let's see. Yes, another thing to note is regarding the land use agreement that was discussed from the minutes from PC and BCC. The applicant has come back with revised language in that, because I know that there were discussions of spot zoning and concerns around that, so they've addressed that. I think that's all I have for now. Unless you have any questions for me, I'll defer to the applicant.
Any questions for staff?
Has Allura been provided along with this or not?
Stephen, has the LoRa been provided with this? Okay.
Okay, we can get into the details of the deed restriction with
So-
the applicant.
So I will note that according to the packet, there is an exhibit that shows that there's a draft land use agreement in there, but I could not find it in my packet. So I guess we would want to enter that into the record, number one, and number two, if we have room for discussion, we also have a copy of a recorded declaration of covenants and restrictions for the parcel, so.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Right, let's hear from the applicant.
Good afternoon. My name is Dee Dee Mahan, M-A-Y-H-A-N-N. My company is Solution Partners, and thank you for the opportunity to come back before you again today. I'm representing Paul and Donna Shorey and their son Blake in a future land use change with rezoning. The reason for the requested future land use and zoning change is so they might be allowed to operate a recreational vehicle park with agriculture and passive recreational amenities such as horseback riding, natural trails throughout the uplands of their property. None of that has changed since last time. We're still seeking the general agriculture land use, which lowers the density from the current use to 1/10. The general agriculture component for functionally agriculture-related uses include boarding stables and campgrounds and recreational vehicle parks, and a rural general store to accommodate the RV park and agriculture uses. They currently have horses and ducks and a pond and a garden. You may recall, as Ayana said, we've been before you before last year, and we received a unanimous approval by this board to go to the Board of County Commissioners. We did so in December of last year. The main concern with the board was the general agricultural component was clear cutting of the trees. So my clients have eliminated that ability actually with the restricted uses upon themselves. In the documents that we want to submit for the record are 2 newly recorded deeds. The commissioners mentioned, and we spoke with planning staff and Brooke, their attorney, about the deeds to be put in a trust for a 30-year period, and so that's been done, putting further restrictions on themselves, even in the number of trees for which they can cut down to make their meandering roadway throughout their park to 20%, and also put a restriction on the size of trees for which they were to be cut down, which will be minimal just for the meandering roadway, as they do not want to clear cut and they don't want to cut down any unnecessary trees at all. They've put those limitations upon themselves, and those documents are being provided. Also, a land use restriction agreement, yes, has been drafted. That's going to be a fluid document in that if you guys want additional restrictions, we're amenable to be open to that and put those in the agreement as well. The Shorys took the board's recommendations to heart. A suggestion was to hire a land use attorney, for which they did, to accomplish all of these declarations of covenants and restrictions, the new deeds, the new restrictions on themselves and their property. That addresses the contract or spot zoning issue that was brought up. Those deeds have been recorded. The equestrian uses, the camping activities, and the primitive campsites and RVs. I did want to mention about the conservation easements. There are some on the property, and there's the conservation easement just north of the property as well, which is 17.61 acres that will not be touched in this process whatsoever. We have a developer's land use restriction agreement that we would like to go over that addresses Eglins density and use concerns. The wetlands, currently there are no violations. There was a DEP representative, Mr. Rick, that came a couple of weeks ago and looked at the property, and he voiced to Mr. Paul that he did not see any violations on the site. Paul Shorey is in close contact with Mr. Rick with DEP and will continue to do site visits and continue to work closely with him. The flood zone, there's no development within the flood zones, and we're lowering the density and traffic. A current wetland study was performed by Wetland Sciences. The proposed RV pads will not impact the wetlands, as the owner wishes to maintain the integrity of the natural vegetation and wetland of their property. Historical data, and I've got photos too of what the Shorys envision the entrance of their park to look like, so I can show you, and we didn't have that last time. And also photos of the surrounding neighborhood and area, making this agriculture fit really well within the neighborhood. I have those that I'd like to show you as well. There's horses and ponds and other farm animals and activities all in the area. There's equestrian area and large parcels along 393. The neighborhood for which the Shorys live is an equestrian community. Many residents in the area have horses, making the general ag use fit well with the character of the neighborhood. There are several abutting lands with the neighborhood infill zoning designation, as well as traditional neighborhood developments. There's even an existing RV park nearby on Nikki and Mandy roads, and I've got those on the board as well. The area also has larger tracts of land, like there's one for 78.87 acres of timberland that's close by. This is, I'll go ahead and show you.
But it's difficult because we can't get you recorded unless you're,
Okay,
okay.
and I'll talk loudly too, but I just wanted you to see the signs for the equestrian, the horse farms, and all of the surrounding areas, even a nearby RV park here on these roads. And this is the conservation easement here up to where their property is. I just wanted to point that out. I can speak loudly too, but if you want to look at that better. And then the site plan, of course, is the same as it was before, because we'll get into better with that when we get our development order process if we get that far. wanted to mention, and then I'm almost finished, general ag is allowed in south central Walton County. There was an issue brought up about general ag south of the bay, and there is existing general ag south of the bay, and it's also allowed in south central, which is what we're asking for. The code allows for that, just like it allows for property owners to request a zoning change. We have had letters of opposition and letters of support, and I did print out some letters of support that didn't make it to the record, and you asked that I make copies. I've got comments too that will address those letters of concern. Whenever you'd like for me to get into that and answer those comments, I'd be happy to do that. I've got responses for each of those. And in closing, the Shoreys understand the obvious concern with changing conservation residentially zoned property, which is to ensure the protection of native wildlife, natural resources, and wetlands. They understand about the 25-foot setback required from the wetlands. The nearest protected wellhead is approximately 3 miles from the site. There are approximately 18.98 acres of uplands identified by Wetland Sciences and about 16.27 acres of wetlands. Development activities are restricted to the upland area. A portion of the project is within the coastal A zone. They would cluster development in area not in the A or AZ flood zone, as we can't touch that anyways. The change to general ag would decrease available density, going from a maximum of 1 residential unit per 2.5 acres to 1 residential dwelling unit per 10 acres. The general ag designation is intended to support rural development characterized by smaller scale ag activities. Low density residential subdivision development is allowed subject to specific open space and clustering requirements for which they wish to comply. The property has 2 conservation easements, as we've said. An increase in density within the floodplain is not allowed nor requested. The development, which is essentially making a roadway along uplands to access about 20 gravel RV pads, would be designed in a way to avoid wetlands by using the upland areas to maintain clustering and open space concept. We're using Jenkins Engineers as our engineering firm. Although general ag reduces intensity, it does slightly increase intensity as well as allowable uses. The GA zoning limits the ISR to 30% across the entire site, which will serve in many respects to promote similar constraints for use of wetlands, floodplains, etc., the same as with conservation residential zoning. We understand that wetlands should be protected and are extremely vital for wildlife, plants, and overall ecosystem. This future land use and rezoning should be approved with and a DO issued. An engineered and county-approved stormwater system would be designed to meet all state and county requirements. Reviews from county staff. The county's floodplain review, there were no outstanding comments. The engineering and traffic analysis, there was no outstanding comments. The environmental review identified 2 soil types that will be addressed upon DO approval and no outstanding comments. The county engineering department, no right-of-way comments. The county surveying department, no comments. This project does promote the health, safety, and welfare of the county due to limiting the amount and size of trees to be cut, plus reducing the density and traffic in the area while promoting an agricultural use. We are here again today to respectfully request a favorable recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners for a small-scale amendment with rezoning. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them, or I can come back at the end if you don't mind.
All right. Mr. Sean? Okay, any questions for the applicant? Go ahead.
Okay, so explain to me, when you went to BCC, they said get a land use attorney, because, is that to put this
The
restriction?
restrictions in place.
And that's all they wanted you to do? Did we, so they made that, when we voted on it, we voted to approve it as is.
Right.
They wanted the
No,
restriction.
With the 80%.
We did 80% as
Right.
well.
Right.
It just wasn't in a legal document.
Correct.
And so BCC asked a land use attorney to put it, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to get clarity, because I read through both the old one and the new one, and I was just trying to see what was different.
That's it.
It didn't seem like a whole lot, so that was,
Now, you also said on the, for Eglin concerns, that this is in a military training route, and they don't have a concern, or they have a concern?
No, sir, they do not.
Huh, I thought they did.
Mr. Schoen.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to add a couple things for the record here. One, primarily, I just want to remind the board that we're reviewing and making a recommendation on the map amendment and not the RV park. Just because there was some attention paid to that, I just want to put that on the record for you. I want to comment on this, and I'm not sure if this made it into your packet or if it was a separate attachment.
Sitting right here.
There are currently some code violations on the site. Now, there's been some public comment and questions in terms of why and how we let applications move forward with violations. So I just want to be clear that in a situation where the application, if approved, would cure the violation, we do allow it to proceed through our normal review processes. If it does not, then we do not allow it, right? We would not allow the continuance or the continued non-conforming aspects of a site to, if the approval wouldn't solve those issues. So a couple other things here. I just want to make sure that the board understands that general ag is allowed in the South Planning area. I think when Ms. Dede was explaining that, she mentioned the South Central, but it is in fact allowed in the South Planning area. It wouldn't be here if not. And I do just for the sake of the contract zoning conversation, and in terms of how the board treated this at the December meeting, the board's attorney, the board provided some options that the applicant could potentially take in a resubmittal and then a return to you all. It wasn't necessarily a direction given, but the conversation at the time was clear that there should be some emphasis or some attention paid to certain aspects of the development and potential improvements to the application. So staff met with the applicant in that regard. We discussed those options. They decided to do what they decided was best for them, right? So that's why we are back here with some of those additional instruments for your consideration. So I don't have anything else. Unless you have questions for me, then I'm going to sit down.
I had a question. Stephen, if this, my concern is, can this turn into a mobile home park?
It in a general ag zoning, I don't believe that a mobile home park use is a permitted or an allowable primary use.
That's how I interpreted it. I just wanted to double check staff's thoughts on that as well. So this would be an RV park that's single ownership. People
Well,
come in and.
Well, this is a map amendment to
I
general
understand.
ag.
I
Right.
understand,
But
but in-
ideally,
in
what
that
they're
zoning
proposing,
category.
yes, what they're proposing is that rustic setting RV park.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is for an RV park that, not for somebody to live in that RV park on a longer term basis, but
Well, I mean, by definition, it wouldn't be an RV park if they were allowed to live in there. I think it's 180 days per statute. I could be off there, but I believe that's the time frame.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we will open this up for public comment. Anybody wishing to speak on this particular subject, please come to the microphone, state your name and spell your last name. Anybody wishing to speak about the Shorey SSA with rezoning?
Hello, my name is Mike Klein. I live at 82 Whisper Lane and lived in Walton Counties for 25 years and lived on Whisper Lane for 10 years. As a point of reference, how does this rezoning project cure the current code violations? Because the code violations are no development orders and no building permits and clearing the property without permits. So how does rezoning the property create a development order, provide building permits, and restore the wetlands that were, or the areas that were cleared without permits?
That's a question for our planning and department.
So obviously, it's a multi-step process, right? So this would be the first step in curing those violations that can be cured through a development order allowing for an RV park. So the map amendment is the first step in that respect.
Okay, but how many current homes are on the property? Okay, and then there are numerous buildings that are on the property that have not been permitted. So what becomes with them? I forgive me, but I failed to see how rezoning the property cures the current deficiencies.
Well, I would actually ask the applicant to come up to speak to some of these items, because, okay, thank you. I will, just as a matter of fact, whatever's there now, any structures that are there and they intend to stay, and anything that they're gonna move in would have to be part of that development order review. So any illegal structures, if they are illegal during DL review, would have to be removed at that time, right? If they don't meet the land development code in that particular land use, right?
And that is specific to the development order, not to the map amendment.
That is correct.
Previous director of planning has stated in this room numerous times that they were not allowed to proceed with new projects until the current violations had been corrected. So what changed?
I don't want to overstate that position. I know for a fact that he has historically allowed applications to move forward if the resultant approval would cure that violation. Now, in instances where it wouldn't, we would have stopped, and we have multiple times stopped an application until that violation could be addressed.
I'll take your word for it, but I don't understand that.
It's a remedy for a violation. It's one of the remedies that are available to any violator of the code.
Okay, so for instance, if there's buildings that don't meet the setback requirements, they would have to be corrected under the new development order, or would they be grandfathered in?
No, under that, okay, there's a couple different circumstances there. So if there's an existing accessory building on the site,
Yes.
and it's in the setback, but they are not touching that structure, that is not part of what they're doing to develop the site, they're not increasing the non-conforming aspect of the site in that regard, then we would allow that shed to stay.
Okay. So they didn't meet the current code, but they're allowed to be in violation under the new development, as long as they don't enhance that structure.
If they're not touching that non-conforming shed, right? Now, again, there's buildings out there that represent accessory and ancillary uses to the historic use of residential on that site. At least that's my understanding, right? And there may be some violations out there in terms of other aspects, and I'm going to let the applicant speak to those, because all I have is the report in front of me.
And then one last question on procedure. The applicant is currently asking for a rezoning, correct? And then assuming that they get through Board of Commissioners, they come back and present a development order as the second phase. Okay.
Right.
What happens if for whatever reason they never submit that second phase, or is denied because of the fact that they can't meet the requirements of the agricultural zoning district? What happens to the rezoning?
Stays in place.
Okay,
Once it's rezoned, anything can happen.
Well, I don't see how you can rezone property if you don't really know how it's gonna be developed.
Well, that's why they're putting together a conceptual plan.
Yeah, but the conceptual plan isn't necessarily, I mean, the Shoreys could get killed in a plane accident tomorrow, and the property is never developed, and they sell the property, and somebody else comes in and clear cuts it and puts in a sod farm. What protection do we have in the neighborhood for that?
The land use.
Existing deed restrictions,
That's
right?
correct.
Yeah.
The recorded deed restrictions run with the land for a set time, for 30 years. So if
When do they have to record those deed restrictions?
they're
Already
recorded,
been recorded.
Okay, For some reason, they weren't in the application that I
Oh.
got, but, okay,
They've submitted them to the record. They do have them.
well, okay, but I'll have to look at those. All right, my main interest in opposing the project is because of three items that currently exist in the Conservation Residential District that do not exist under the rezoning. Number one is the open space, and maybe what's recorded in those documents would address that, but currently, in the Conservation Residential District, it defines open space as conservation of the existing native ground
Vegetation.
as it exists today. But if you read open space in the glossary of terms in the Land Development Code, it lets you clear cut the property, put in a sod field, and that's defined as open space. And that's not what the CR zoning district calls open space. Specifically in that district, it says it has to be preserved as natural environment. So I oppose that. Second of all, it's a business use in a primarily residential business district. Right now, all through that whole, from Nursery Road all the way to the bay, and from Nellie on the east side of of that area at the bay, all the way to the bay is all residential property, primarily conservation residential and some conservation. There's a little bit of infill in there, but it's all residential. There are no business uses allowed in that district, and this zoning would allow business uses in the district, as well as allow people living in residence, whether it's full-time or not, that currently are not allowed in those districts. So my question is, I was told by the planning department that this property has been guided as conservation residential since the development or the adoption of the Land Development Code. So what changed since that time that would make a difference to suggest that this zoning was appropriate? What's changed in that area that suggests that rezoning that property to agricultural is part of the growth that has occurred in that area that would be compatible with the existing zoning?
Can you wrap up your comments, Mr. Klein? We've been
I
very
mean,
generous.
I know, but there's a lot on the table. It's hard to say.
I get it.
I guess to wrap them up very simply, without regard to the deed restrictions that are currently put into the property, rezoning of the Shorey property is arbitrary. It lacks a reasonable basis, offers a benefit to the Shorey property only, allows for uses not currently permitted in the existing zoning or anywhere in the neighborhood, and does not serve a legitimate public purpose in this neighborhood. It's strictly for the benefit of the Shoreys. Thank you. There's plenty of other things I could comment on if I had more time.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wish to speak on this? Yes, sir. Please come to the microphone, state your name, and spell your last name. And I'm going to try to hold you to 3 minutes.
Yes, I'll be short. Hi, everyone. My name's Joey Gates, Gates. Hope everybody's having a good week so far. I'm actually here to support the project, the RV project. I believe I'm actually been a resident in this community for 30 years this year. So I feel like this project is actually really well for the preservation of our forestry around here, you know, with our natural parks. I'm a little nervous, I don't, you know, speak in front of people very often. With our natural parks, first of all, as a new father, I'm actually, you know, me and my family, we have an RV, we go traveling a lot, and first time father, this would be a good place to get away for, you know, a visit, you know, in the community. You know, sometimes you can't get away and go far, but it's right there. It's a beautiful location. I'm just here today to ask for the approval for this project because I think it'd be great for the community.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you, guys.
You're fine. Thank you very much.
I apologize.
That's okay.
I sat down and I realized that I just kind of word vomited something that I shouldn't have, or something that doesn't relate to development order review. Development order review, the entire site must be consistent, right? So if there's illegal structures on there, we would certainly address those in that review. There is some nuanced approvals as it relates to single-family development on single-family platted, single-family lots of record. So I just want to be clear there.
Right.
There,
I knew that, but.
well, I did too. But.
And the fact that we're looking at a map amendment, not a development order. So thank you very much, Mr. Sean. Anybody else wish to speak on this project? State your name and spell your last name.
Hello, my name is Bailey Rose, Rose. I am a stay-at-home homeschool mom that lives just around the corner, not too far from the Shorey property. And I think that this is a great way to create a space where people like me and a lot of other moms like me can take our kids to experience nature. We've visited there a few times. My daughter got to experience horseback riding for the first time, and now we always have a bag of apple cores in our fridge because she saves all of them for the future horses visits. And we are very passionate about preserving our forests, about educating our children in regards to nature and how to take care of this incredible planet, especially in this area, because we have some of the most incredible wildlife and forests. And I also love having a place close by that we can go. We're a family of 5. My husband's a lifeguard for the South Walton Fire Department, and he works a lot of hours in the summers. And so to have a place close by that we can just load up and go over to, they have the potential for rural camping spots, and all of that would just be a great benefit for our family and for our kids to be able to get in nature. And of course, we spend a lot of time at the beach, but to have the farm experience in addition to the beach experience all within an arm's reach would be really incredible for just educating our children and teaching them how to take care of the planet around us.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this topic? Yes, sir. Please come to the microphone. State your name and spell your last name.
Bob McCullough, McCullar. I live at 54 Whisper Lane, which is at the corner of North Church Street and Whisper Lane. I have a beach that I have maintained for several years. And that's where these people are going to end up when they go to the nearest water spot. There's a park supposedly next door to me, but it isn't very big. But they will end up on my beach, and I'll have to address them. I allow all my neighbors in the area that I know to come to my beach and to use my dock, because it's the only one. Now, I'm not going to be too thrilled about all these RVs coming in on Friday and Saturday night or whatever. There's no place to turn around except on Deal Court, and it's going to be a mess on Fridays and then on Mondays. Not an easy place to turn around. To address the entrance to this place really closely, because they're going to be coming down and backing into people's driveways and making a mess. I don't mind them making money and having an RV park, but like I said, it's going to be a mess on North Church Street. Also, I want to address the fact that they have a firing range back there that we've had to call the deputies out a couple of times. We've had a couple of houses get shot and bullets penetrated into people's kitchens and into their living areas. So we would like to have some sort of restriction about a shooting range out there for this RV park, if possible. Like I said, we've had the deputies have to come out a couple of times because houses had bullet holes in them from their current shooting range. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other people like to speak on this topic? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public comment. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, somebody's not paying attention.
Hello, my name is Jeff Faulkner, Falkner. I'm originally from upstate New York, not that New York where you know what's going on there, but upstate where cows and apples were my next door neighbors. And a couple years ago, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, had chemo, got treated, and I didn't realize what a poison that chemo was, but long story short, doctor said get out of the Northeast. So we had to leave. So initially we first started RVing, coming down south, stayed a bunch of different RV parks. That's one thing I disagree with. I'm hearing RV park. I can take you to an RV park, but there's not many campgrounds around here. The only campgrounds I see are the state-owned ones. Plenty of trees, but an RV park is concrete grass, concrete grass. They look like glorified parking lots, if you ask me, but this is gonna be a campground, I think. And I don't see too many campgrounds around here besides state ones. If you try getting in those, they're always packed, lots of rules, understood, because state has liability. But, you know, dogs, only certain dogs and this, all kinds of stuff. But I think just based on this, where else besides the state park are you gonna find anything like this? Horses, nature trails. And I understand his comment about a beach down his end. Drove through there, yeah, saw it, but I'm sorry, 5 minutes down the other way, you've got the Gulf of America, so I don't see too many people going up there when they can go right down the block. But yeah, I approve of this. I think it's awesome. I miss my campground that I had in New York, full of trees, full of water. Sounds like that's gonna be the same thing here. Thank you.
All right, anybody else that wants to speak? Going once, going twice. All right, we're gonna close the public comment period. Does the applicant want to get up and address some of these concerns?
Good afternoon, Daniel Rosenheim. Our office helped in drafting some of the declarations and the land use restrictions within the deeds to help address some of the concerns from the Board of County Commissioners. And to help the future use of the land and the concerns with cutting and removal of trees and clear cutting under the agricultural use. Those restrictions have been placed in record. They've been recorded. I've provided a copy to the board. We've also worked with the planning department on land use restriction agreement that would further limit the uses and development of the property in the future. With regard to open space, I think our agreements directly address that. We're not clear cutting, we're only cutting the areas in which you see in the renderings where the pads would be located. With regard to the use of the beaches and the shooting range, I can assure you there's not a shooting range on our property. Being born and raised here, I know Alligator Point used to be a popular place to shoot guns, but that's not happening on our property. I'm here to answer any other questions you may have. I think the developer's land use restriction was in your packet, but the deeds were not, and the restrictions were not as well. So answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for the applicant? I think we're good. Any comments, further comments from the commission?
Currently exist right now. That is concerning to me, and I would like to not have those be a part of this. I would like them to be clear before we make a rezoning, personally.
I'm sorry, Chris, what did you?
So there's currently code violations right now on this property, and I would like them to be resolved before we agree to vote on this and approve this rezoning. That gives me pause. I don't like it. I feel like we're rezoning it to perhaps make this them compliance right away. So that I don't like, and I don't know. That's my only pause with it. I don't think the campground and all those things are wonderful. I like that they've preserved the trees in a legal document. I just don't like, the code violations give me pause. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but for me, I don't like that, and I know that if we approve this rezoning, those probably will be in compliance right away then. Stephen, is that true? If we approve this rezoning, will those code violations, with those buildings, then will they be in compliance right away?
To be honest with you, I would need more than what's described here in this
Same.
code report. So I will, just based on the headings here, so there's not development approvals for some things here, so those would not be resolved until a development approval was issued or they were removed. The same with building permits. I think they would be responsible for getting building permits after the fact, which would require a development approval. To my understanding, that the wetlands violation, based not on testimony tonight, but internal conversations, that the wetlands violations did not come, that they weren't substantiated. And I believe that code enforcement may have issued a resolution to that already. It just may not be reflected here. Maybe the applicant could speak to that. And then the last one has already been resolved. The RVs that were there apparently have been removed.
My concern is the structures that are on the property currently. What are they?
So, I mean, from what I'm understanding here, well, it doesn't really say.
No, it
Can you
doesn't.
tell us
I
about
can
it?
speak to that if you don't mind. Okay. A year ago, the Shoreys, we applied for a building permit for a tiny home. The Shoreys purchased the tiny home, and in getting that back, it was classified as an RV, even though it's not a recreational vehicle. It was bought as a tiny home. You can't even pull it behind your vehicle or anything. So when we went to get it permitted, the building department pointed that out, that on the plans, which looks like a tiny home or a shed, that it says recreational vehicle on the plans. So the Shoreys decided to just use that as an accessory structure, and they bought a new tiny home, which is in fact coded as a tiny home. So they were in the process, we did receive a building permit for that, and I have that building permit. The issue was they were building it out inside themselves, and they failed to call to get an inspection in a timely manner. So they've since done that, and they've gotten a notice of commencement, and they're trying to get everything in compliant and up to speed in the way that it should be. But that's the issue with the home.
So, and just so I understand, there is a home currently on the parcel in question here?
The one that
Or
they just got permitted.
multiple parcels in question? So, and so many of the other structures that I'm just reading through here, it looks like there's a couple of pole barns and some utility sheds that would all be ancillary and approvable accessory structures for a residential use.
Correct, and there's none in any setbacks, and everything would be taken care of. They want to get everything fixed and taken care of. But it was that, the home and the classification of it, so we had to redo it, and they had to buy a new one, and we got it permitted. Does that help?
Would the pole barn and accessory structures, are they intended to be part of this, what would be development order?
Yes, sir.
So if we had them removed, they'd have to tear them down and then rebuild them, assuming the development order gets approved?
One is the horse barn stable, too, the barn for the horses.
Okay. That was one of the buildings is the horse barn. Well, to remove the violation, like you're saying, before they can do this,
So
they'd
that's
have to
in
remove it, then
violation
build
as
it back
well.
again.
So that one's also in violation?
No, sir, no. That was just an example.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what she said.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just reading through some of the
Oh my gosh,
comments.
it's just
Yeah.
a tiny home. It's right now,
Right.
it's a tiny home that's in violation, not any other
And it's been
dwellings.
permitted, so, and I have the notice of commencement with me.
And just to kind of reiterate my previous statement, if for some reason they come in for a development order and, you know, a shed or something on the site is not in keeping with the code or is over their ISR or other restrictions that they're attaching themselves to the development, they would be forced to remove it as part of that approval process.
How big is that tiny home? How many square feet is it? I'm wondering if it's within the 800 square feet of the, right, is it though?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yeah, I think if it was a violation of the ADU standard, it would be addressed in
Okay.
We
the
got
violation
permitted
report.
for it. Yes, ma'am.
what about the one that's in violation?
That's it.
That's it?
Yes, which we've since got a permit for.
So this should be resolved,
Correct.
but it's not. Why is
But
it not?
because this report came out before the tiny home was permitted.
Well, it says 10/7.
Yeah.
It was, and I have the notice of commencement. It was just yesterday or day before.
Oh, okay.
Well, the last date in the report is the 7th, that's correct, but the timeline extends from,
So they went right out and got things taken care of.
yeah, it looks like these cases opened
And I
9/17.
spoke with Rachel with code enforcement as well to update her, so she's aware.
What you're looking at is the notice of commencement. It references what you see, the number reference at the top right. It says RB, that's the residential building permit number. That's the reference. It was signed on the 7th. It was also reported, the code violation was reported.
So there is no code violations then?
We just have to get the final inspection.
I'm going to change the subject for a second. I remember this vividly when it came before us back in December. And when I first saw it, I was like, okay, what's changed? Why is this back? A lot of my same concerns existed with regards to, I think motorhomes on Nursery and trying to make that turn from Nursery to North Church is crazy. I bike over in that area all the time, so I know those roads really well. But if all the check-in and turnarounds and everything's gonna happen on the property, then I guess, it'll alleviate, any problems on Nursery and North Church. I still go back to our land development code and 4.09.14C that says placement of recreational vehicles and parked trailers is prohibited in coastal A zones. And that does concern me, but as you stated, the location of these vehicles will not be in those coastal zones. Also, I'm encouraged by the fact that there are now deed restrictions and land use restrictions with regards to the trees, which is something that we all wanted to see on that property. So I'm encouraged by that. And you look like you want to say something, Mr.
So
Schoen.
I was just making myself available that you kind of
I went
veered
there.
the direction I was gonna offer, so.
So any other concerns or questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I think the deed restrictions they've provided answer the BCC's calling. And I think the conservation residential would still allow for residential homes. And I think some of the concerns were, this is going to be a trailer park. And Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong, but in conservation residential, a single family home can also be a manufactured home or a mobile home. So we could have a mobile home community in conservation residential. It's prohibited in the agricultural zoning category that they want to go to. I see that as a positive and takes a lot of the concerns of the public and the board away. So I'd make a motion to approve with the recorded deed restrictions.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention. Okay. That has passed 4-0. Now we're going to move on to quasi judicial. Those in attendance will need to be sworn in. for me? Okay. Turning it over to you, Frankie.
Scary. Okay, I think we're pretty clear. Anyone wishing to speak on any of the remaining items, whether it be staff or anyone else, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, Madam Chairperson, they have been sworn.
Mr. Schoen.
Okay. Item number 3 is the Capital Vet Clinic. And again, Miss Ayana Reed did review this, and I'm going to ask her to present it.
Hello again. So item number 3, Capital Vet Clinic. This is a request to approve by final order, project number MAJ 25-000042. This is a major development application submitted by Pool Engineering and Surveying, Inc. on behalf of Claw Enterprise SRB LLC, requesting to develop a 20,144 square foot main vet building, a 10,125 square foot flex space, and future 10,075 additional vet clinic space and associated infrastructure on 6.06 plus or minus acres. The project site has a future land use and zoning category of estate residential. The property is in District 3, located at the corner of Coy Burgess? Burgess, thank you. Burgess Loop and US Highway 331 South, and is identified by the parcel numbers in your staff report. May I enter the staff report into the record?
So entered.
I would also like to make a couple of requests to enter into the record regarding corrections to the staff report. So on the first page regarding the project map location, I want to make the correction that there is an additional parcel. There's a little triangular parcel that abuts 331 that is a part of the proposed site application. So I just want to add that. And that aligns with the 2 parcel ID numbers that are in the existing staff report. The second correction I want to make is regarding the number of access points. There are actually 2 access points, one to the east side off of 331 and one on the west side along Rogers Road. And those are all of the corrections that I would like to add. I would also like to add into the record one letter of opposition, public comment that we received for this project. And I would also like to add into the record the second document of your handouts, which I'll speak to in a little bit here into the record.
Okay. I don't know what.
The second document is the zoning, not the code case document, but the other document, which is a zoning amendment letter
Thank you.
with plot attached. Sorry about that.
It was here, yes. Yep.
So I'd like to enter all of that into the record.
So entered.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so I'll start with water and sewer. That's going to be provided by City of Defuniak Springs. The project is not going to have any significant impact on the operation of access and roadways that are proposed. It's based on a 25-year stormwater plan. I will also provide a couple of context points because this property is zoned estate residential. But when the property was platted in 1975 as Palomino Acres subdivision, it was platted as a commercial zoning. Hence why we're seeing, it's a weird grandfathered use type of situation where we're seeing estate residential on our maps, but per that determination document, from that point forward, the covenant or the restriction runs with the parcel that commercial use is allowed despite its zoning of estate residential. with that said, the project is a part of 3 phases of development. The first phase is going to be the main vet clinic and associated infrastructure. The entire building is going to be constructed with this particular DO application. One half of the interior will be built out initially, and the second half of the interior will be built out at a later date. The second phase is going to include the construction of a commercial building with units leased for various uses, and the third phase is going to include the construction of the vet clinic, a secondary vet clinic. So I think those are all of the things that I want to point out to you all just to keep in mind. There's no wetland impacts. I will add that. They are in compliance with our ISR and FAR requirements. And please note that under the project analysis section of the staff report, that those allowed requirements that are listed are based on the commercial zoning ISR and FAR requirements because of that determination letter, not based on estate residential. And that's all I have so far. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for staff?
We're looking at between 20,144 square feet for the main veterinarian building, and then, assume it's veterinarian and not vet, but, and then another 10,000 some square foot. So we're talking 30-some thousand square foot veterinarian clinic, not a hospital or kennels.
Veterinarian. Mm-hmm.
Just, that's got to be probably as big as any in the state.
It's pretty big. Yes.
And there's like 8, 10, 12 exam rooms on this property in this development?
That's my understanding, and I'll give the applicant a chance to elaborate a little bit more in terms of the interior design and the layout, but yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay,
Not at this time.
I'll give it
Have
to the applicant.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
Find out. Ask the
We'll find out.
applicant.
Good evening. Brandon Poole with Poole Engineering and Surveying on behalf of the applicant Claw Enterprises. So the first phase is this 20,000 square foot veterinarian clinic, and it is a clinic. There is no boarding operation associated with this. The clinic and surgical center, it gets a lot of traveling patients coming into his facilities. So it is, he does have larger facilities than normal. The future phase clinic is just to allow for growth if needed. There's no short-term plans there. And then Jason Gassett will speak to some of the operations, and he's the general contractor on the project, but has better understanding of the building programming. The building in the front, that there's no short-term plans there. It's just that, he bought a large commercial property and, wanted to allow, if the market dictates some value there in the future, to be able to do something with it, and for us to be able to, have the stormwater infrastructure in place for him to do that. But both of those phases will have to come back in for minor development orders if something happens there. The parcel to the south that runs along 331, that is just going to be entirely preserve area, so it'll provide some nice buffer for that property owner to the south from the highway and maintain that. Definitely. Other than that, we don't, it's other than the estate residential zoning and the grandfathering, it's fairly commercial project with no deviations or variances from the code or anything like that. So other than that, I'll be available for questions and let building programming.
Is there any idea what this flex space would be?
It's just a general commercial building. There's no plans for it or intent to develop in the near future. He's going to kind of.
What parking rate did you use for that building? Was it
I
shopping
believe
center
it was
or-
one. It was a flex space, one space per 350.
The other general business. Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'm available.
I was going to say, how many veterinarians are we talking about working here? It's just one?
No, it'd be more than one professional. Do you know the answer on that? Yeah, he'll address that when he
Okay.
comes up. So I'll turn it over to Jason now.
Hello, my name's Jason Gassett, Gassett. My company is JDG Constructors. I'm the general contractor on this project. Mr. Jaquez, is that how you say it?
Jacobs.
Jacobs, yes, sir. So, this facility, his main facility is in Tallahassee. He bought a building 8 years ago that's probably 12,000 square feet, renovated it. We added a 2-story addition, another 5,000 square feet. He's got an MRI, he's got a CT, he's got operatory rooms. So this is not a normal vet that you just bring your pet to have checkups. Surgery, cancer, dermatology, that's all they do. So main facility is Tallahassee. He has a small office here in Santa Rosa Beach that he's had for 6 years or so. We helped him do some work there as well.
What veterinarian is it here?
Called Capital Veterinary Specialists.
They have a facility here in
Santa Rosa Beach, right by the Sellers Tile. Oh, highway that is.
Yeah. On 98.
Right. Once you go past Sellers, it's tucked back in there right behind it.
Near Down Island.
What's the name again?
Capital Veterinary Specialists.
Okay.
He doesn't do large animal. He just is all
Dogs mainly, yeah. So he's been very successful in Tallahassee area, and he has a van. He comes over here and brings pets from within a couple 100 miles of Tallahassee, and so he sees the growth in West Florida, and then you come 2 hours west. Well, now people from Alabama and Mississippi will be more inclined to come here, I believe. But yes, this building is bigger than what he has now. There's 4 operating rooms, more exam rooms. He'll have a mobile MRI, which is a trailer that sits outside, CT machine inside.
There's nothing like that here.
No, can't be, no. So, I mean, just to give you some scale, in Tallahassee, he does every Tuesday and Thursdays, and I think they've moved into Fridays now. They'll do 15 to 20 surgeries every Tuesday and Thursday of every week of the year, unless Kevin's out of town. Now, he has other doctors that work with him that can perform surgeries and those other things, and that'll be the same situation here, although Kevin will primarily be in Tallahassee. Right now, he comes every other Friday to Santa Rosa Beach, drives over in the morning, comes home in the evening. So I don't know what his plan is to be here. My guess is he'll be here more often. He's also talking about renting a helicopter to get over here quickly.
More curiosity of the board than anything else.
Yeah, I could see that, because you look at a building that's 20,000 square feet and you go, well, there's 10,000 more feet, which I think that's just, he thinks a lot. He's always, I've never stopped working at his building in 8 years. He's always doing things, right? Even though they're small at times, but he's always looking ahead. So that could potentially be more space for him. It could be something else. He was even talking about wanting to put residential homes out there for his employees. So, which wasn't allowed. And something that Ayana said, we are going to build the whole building, not separate phases. Even though the drawings were set up as 2 interior phases, we're going to build the whole thing out. So
There was one
The first
concern.
2 phases, correct?
So the main building, I mean, so if you look at, construction drawings, it was split in the middle and there was a phase 1 and 2. Both of those, it's gonna be, the whole building is going to be built out inside,
Okay.
so.
And the exit onto Rogers Road, there was some concern about traffic.
Well, that got added by, I don't know what department added that, but that was not original plan, so.
That was a response to staff. We did not originally.
Yeah, we just had the entrance off 331 and then they wanted that out back, so. If you need a pet surgery, you got somewhere right down the road to go, but it's not cheap, so.
No.
I'll bet not,
I've
especially
had
if he's,
4 there with 1 dog, so,
especially if he's coming by helicopter. All right.
yeah.
Any other questions?
Good? Okay,
Yes.
thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll open this up for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak on this subject, please come to the microphone, state your name, and spell your last name.
Hello, my name is Wanda Carroll, Carroll. Okay. My only concern with this, I live almost directly across the street off of Rogers Road. My only concern with this is the traffic coming onto Rogers Road. Rogers Road is not a service road, it is a residential road. And I understand right now that they say that the traffic's going to be very minimal, and that's okay. But well, what about a year from now? I think, well, I do not know, but I would respectfully ask the county to look at having that traffic, instead of diverting it onto Rogers Road. It's my understanding they're going to put in an easement going into off of 331, going south. Okay.
They have an entrance on 331 as well. They have
Yes.
2.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. And it was my understanding that it was only going to be the exiting traffic coming onto Rogers Road, going back north.
I'm thinking if I'd go in and out off of 331. That going off Rogers and up to Coy Burgess, and that would be
Rogers will be an exit. Yeah.
maybe, yeah. Yeah. I understand your concerns.
Okay. Anyway, I respectfully ask the county to look at maybe a service road that would benefit this project as well as future projects. And we all know the county's growing very fast. Or maybe a red light enabling those folks, because there is a merge going, let's see, on the west side. On the east side, there's a merge where they could make the turnaround and go back north and not have to use a residential road. Anyway, that's my concern, and I would really respectfully appreciate it if the county could look at that.
Well, I can tell you right here, right now, that I don't believe it's in the county's purview to put a red light because it's a state route.
Exactly.
And it is
exactly.
not something that the county has purview over. But as warrants, that the state will address that down the road, so.
Okay. What about a service road? Is that a possibility for this project as well as future projects in the future?
Where do you want the service road to go? I don't see anything that makes sense, to be perfectly honest.
The service road you would come off 331, and the service road would go in front of.
Paralleling?
Yes. To me, that would be ideal for future development.
it's all commercial, that would make sense to have that, but that is not all commercial
That-
along that 331 to
Right.
have an access road there. I see what you're saying. I
Um,
just don't think there's enough space. And it's all residential that's next to it.
on 330, on
Adjacent.
331,
Yes.
on the west side?
It's zoned residential.
Yeah, there's only 4 parcels in here that the plat designated as commercial.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so,
Honestly think you're gonna have a terrible amount of problems with this. I really don't. I think that this will be an exit, and I don't think the traffic will be hideous. I think it'll come off of 331 mostly,
Mhm.
and I think when, maybe people from the north might use it. I don't, I think 331 will be the main thing.
In and out, yeah.
Yeah.
well, I hope so, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think there's gonna be like 131 parking spaces in this new complex. That's a lot of traffic.
Just to add to the conversation, I did just briefly speak with the engineer record, I believe, and he did offer to put, like a no through traffic sign on that rear exit, where at least they would know that if they go that way, it's not an exit on that, so it would be a shorter trip out and about. But I strongly suspect that folks will generally use that front entrance and exit. At least that's the way the transportation analysis was presented to us. So, want to put that out there. I don't know if that helps.
Well, no through traffic, that's very helpful.
Yes, if that's put in place, that would be very helpful. I mean, I could see emergency vehicles if they needed to go out that route. I mean, that's totally understandable, but just normal traffic from 131 parking spaces, that's excessive, I think, on a residential road.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this? Huh?
Hi, my name is Sherry Kruschke, Kruschke, and I am actually next door to the south. So I think what you just said was that little triangle thing behind my house is not commercial, that's residential?
It's part of the parcel. It is zoned commercial, but it's not going to be developed.
Right, but when she was saying that the turnaround or whatever, I was thinking that's where she was talking about.
Oh.
So I would think that if a lot of people exited on to Rogers Road, I would like to see at least some light poles or something, because, our Rogers Road right now is a dead end. I walk Rogers Road. I know almost everybody that lives on that road. So if I have a problem, I can always go to somebody's house. When the daylight savings time, sometimes I get stuck walking and it's dark. So I would rather either have a sidewalk or some light poles out on the street close to the public, where people would be coming in and out, so that they don't run me over.
Well, there will be lighting in the parking lot of the establishment, of the commercial establishment, but I think having a no through traffic at the exit there, it's going to limit the number of cars that exit that way.
Okay.
And I that is not the intent, to have that be used as the exit.
And my other thing would be the retention pond that's out there. It would be on Rogers Road. It looks fairly large. If we're in a drought, I'm pretty sure it'll probably be dry. But when it is wet, is there a contingent on how to control, like mosquito control, or, just, we have a lot of problems with mosquitoes out there already. So I'm just thinking, you know, how would we maintain that? Is there something that they put in the water when it's full, since it's stagnant water?
We'll ask Mr. Poole to, whether that's a wet pond or dry pond, and after all the comments, we'll
Yeah.
just have you come back up.
We'll
Okay.
have him address that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak on this project? Going once. All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. We'll ask Mr. Poole to come back up and address some of these concerns.
Thank you all for the comments. I would anticipate that almost 100% of traffic entering the site will come in off 331 and 100% exiting to the south. You may have some that, you know, intend to go back north on 331, maybe go out to Rogers Road if they know that that's available. But most, you know, customers, you know, they may not even know that that is an option for them to go back out around and whatnot. So I would anticipate the majority of customers to utilize the 331 exit. You may have employees exiting to go northbound, maybe use Rogers Road, but veterinarian clinics are not a huge trip generator relative to square footage, you know, certainly nothing like restaurants or retail or anything like that. As far as the pond, it is a dry pond, so it would, you know, in a major flood event should draw down in 2 days. And that's a major flood event. It will be dry, you know, 90+% of the time. So.
Yeah, I think the requirement's within 72 hours. I'm sure you'll have to meet that. What was the split that you used in your traffic analysis? Do you remember?
My partner Cheryl does the traffic analysis, so I'm not 100% sure on that.
Right.
I'd have to.
But if it was somewhere around a 70-30, maybe, or you don't recall?
I don't know.
All right, Stephen, we might ask you if you had the traffic report, just so we have an idea of what the split was. Yeah, their distribution map should show. Thank you.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. No.
Okay. Andy? Didn't mean to put you on the spot there.
Okay, so if I can zoom in here a little bit. Looks like they've got, and I'm not a traffic engineer, and I don't review these, but if I do some quick math based on what they're showing, it looks like approximately 200 plus or minus trips exiting, entering off of 331. And it looks like approximately 50 exiting and entering off of Coy Burgess, utilizing, I'm assuming, that rear. And that may just be what they're showing the direction of the trips. Again, I'm not engineer here.
75-25.
Let's see, there is a table here. Let's see, segment. Nope, that's not approaching it. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Do you want to see this page? Maybe you can explain it better.
No, I think what you've told us
Okay.
is basically it's a 75%, 25% split. So that's reasonable. And I don't know if we put it in our motion, we'll discuss it, whether if more traffic occurs than that, we'll maybe some signage or emergency exit only or some kind of way of limiting that if it becomes a problem.
I mean, he already did state that they would put a no through traffic at the exit there.
All right.
Any other questions or concerns from the commission for either staff or the applicant? Then I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, subject to posting the no through traffic sign at the Rogers Road exit.
Second it.
All right, all those in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Passes 4-0. And our last item, Mr. Schoen.
Okay. Item number 4 is the Hunters Village subdivision. This may look familiar to you all. You did review a fairly recent map amendment application. Again, Ayanna Reed did review this, and I'm going to ask her to present it to you.
The Ayanna Show.
Okay, apologies, I'm having some binder issues. Okay, final project, Hunters Village subdivision. This is a request to approve by final order. Project number MAJ 25-00045. This is a major development application submitted by Nautilus Civil Engineers on behalf of Hunters Road LLC, requesting to develop a 31 single-family lot subdivision on 9.67 acres. The project site has a future land use of residential and a zoning category of low-density residential 4-1. It's in District 5, located at 321 Nelly Drive, and is identified by the parcel number in your staff report. May I enter the staff report into the record?
So entered.
May I also enter all of the newest public comments we received into the record?
Okay.
Okay. So for this project, water and sewer is available, and it's provided by regional utilities. There will be 2 access points via Archer Point Road. This project, because it's quasi-judicial, it will be going to a hearing with the special magistrate. See, I do want to point out that lots 1, 2, 13, and 14 have a reduced rear yard setback because of the preservation within the common area. And those are the only things that I would like to point out to the board as of right now. So if there's any questions that you might have, I'd be happy to address those.
Any questions for Ms. Reed?
Yeah, has this this has been submitted before, previously?
It came as a map amendment, so it was rezoned
Correct.
a year ago.
Okay.
It was October 17th, 24. October 21st, sorry. I don't know why we had it on the 21st, but. You would have. Any other comments for staff at this time? If not, we'll hear from the applicant.
Before you get started, it gives me great pleasure and to ask you if you have been sworn in, because I didn't see you stand up when we.
Technically, and we talked about this the last time I was here. And this is a quasi judicial hearing, so it's an evidentiary hearing. As a lawyer, I don't actually provide testimony.
Okay.
I ask questions, I do an opening statement, but it's not evidence.
But I enjoyed asking it.
Yeah, like I'm glaring at her, she had to stand up, but I'm not. And I do want to, I realize because the interest of time, and I talked to Brooke, because when we went to the ALJ, I have to admit our process still has a little bit of kink in it, because last time I was here, the thought was we present the evidence here and the ALJ can then just take the transcript and we wouldn't have to repeat it. But the administrative law judge just wanted it all repeated all over again. So I won't be quite as formal, but there is a few things I want to do. Like, for example, she admitted public comment into the record. Technically, you have two phases here. You have the evidentiary phase and you have the public comment phase. The written public comment shouldn't be entered into the evidentiary record. It should be entered into the public comment record. So I just asked that be corrected. I did talk to Brooke and she agreed with me on that.
No, she just said, Ayana,
There were additional public comments, so rather than be entered into evidentiary, it's entered into the public comment.
Got it.
Yes.
Right.
And we
so
will
I'm just trying to
correct that.
keep that.
Yes.
So as I said, I'm just doing a brief opening statement. We're here just to, and I don't have all the protesters out here, so I'm not as worried about it, but we're here, the sole purpose or issue in a quasi-judicial hearing on a development order is, do we comply with the Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Code? Not anything else. We don't talk about whether or not some state or federal government entity should make us do something, because that's outside the county's control. It is purely, do we comply with the Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Code? I'm going to go ahead and address it now, because you're going to hear about it in a minute through the engineer. And y'all may recall I addressed it when I was here on the asphalt plant. We still currently, we do a traffic study and we present it as part of our application for a development order. But under Florida law, you cannot deny a development order based on traffic. What the county could do and had done for a while is they can charge a fee for concurrency for improving the road. Although Walton County recently suspended the mobility fee. So now, other than the county getting that data to enter into their EDS system, it can't be used for anything. So I just wanted to go ahead and point that out. It's in the staff report, but it's not a basis to determine whether we meet our development order criteria or not, because it's not technically something that you approve under the LDC or Land Development Code. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call Melissa Ward up here. I'm not going to be quite as formal as we would in a normal one. I'm going to let Melissa do what she loves to do, is run loose with what it is, but I'll just start her off and let her talk.
Did I misunderstand you? Did you say you were sworn, Melissa, or you were not? You were,
Yes.
okay. I didn't know, Gary said he was glaring at you, so I misunderstood him. I was just like making
No,
sure.
I was making sure she did
Okay.
it, and Curtis did it.
Yes.
So for the record, Melissa Ward with Dunlap and Shipman, a certified planner, and I have been sworn. Dunlap and Shipman represents the applicant. I'm a certified planner, and I don't know, he said, let me run free. I don't know if he's meant that, you know what I mean?
Well, let's just establish your credentials, your background, and then did you review this to determine whether it complies with all the elements of the Comprehensive Plan Land Development Code that are applicable? And if so, explain all those to the
All right, that's a lot. Let me go ahead and start. I'm a certified planner with the American Planning Association. I've been working in the planning field for 20 years. To be certified as a planner, I had to go through some rigorous study and take an exam. So for classification on that, I did pass an exam to get my certification. I did review the project. We were asked to come in and help represent through this process, this new process that we're going through. And so what I'd like to start with, you do have I don't know that. Okay. You have a site plan, but let me start with where we need to start, which is the comprehensive plan establishes the laws that we look at as to how land is developed, and then that is implemented through the land use regulations or land development code. What I'd like to point out first is one of the reasons we were able to be here today is because the comprehensive plan specifically provides that Walton County will provide ways for there to be sustainable housing, safe housing, and housing appropriate for all different types. So we have under the housing element of policy H111 a broad range of housing. That's important to note. In policy H1.4.1, the policy is to review housing and make sure that we have substantial and significant housing in order to meet our housing needs. In the sustainable housing goal under the objectives, the Walton County is meant to promote a sustainable and interconnected compact communities and promote public safety and healthy lifestyle choices. And then finally, Walton County is to ensure compatible relationships, and also that they have housing that is safe, and to eliminate substandard dwelling conditions and derelict conditions under policy objective H1.4. The purpose of bringing that up is that this property previously was the site of several code violations and some unhealthy living conditions, and the applicant bought the property and then cleaned it up as a part of the pre-work being done in order to get the land use amendment. So that brings us to the fact that he did get a land use amendment to a density of 4 units to the acre. And so where we're at now is looking at how do we comply with the low density residential 4:1 zoning district. Another aspect of the comprehensive plan includes your conservation easement, which tells you directly how to handle wetlands in a development proposal. And this project has to meet that criteria. The land development code that speaks to that is Chapter 4 under resource protection, and we'll get to that in just a minute. So very specifically, the property, and I'm trying to make it short because I really feel like you guys are like, trying to get it done. So the wetlands on the property were just under 3 acres, 2.6 acres, I think, give or take. There is an impact of less than half an acre that was utilized or mitigated. So that 1/2 acre density is calculated at 1 per 20 units. So it's negligible, as in it's a half an acre, but it decreased it. So considering that the property itself is 9.67 acres, right, just under 10, 9.67 acres at 4 units to the acre, the original allowed density would have been 38 units. When you take that half acre out, it lowered it to 36 units. So the density allowed on the property is 36 units. The proposal is 31. So we still comply with that 4:1 density, just in density calculations. It's important to note that when you're doing a wetland transfer, that is to cluster the density out of the wetlands, you put the rest of it in a preservation or conservation area under a common area, homeowners association maintenance, and then you develop on the uplands. This density requires that you cannot have less than a 5,000 square foot lot. So just for factual part of this design of this subdivision, each lot is over 6,000 square feet, varying in sizes, but no less than 6,000 square feet or 6,060 square feet. The land use, so typically under your zoning category or your zoning district, you have a density requirement or maximum allowed. You have primary uses, and you have your impervious surface and your floor area ratios that help you design that development. So we talked about density. The primary uses in low density residential are single family homes. All 4 uses are related to single family homes. No multifamily, no non-residential uses. So there's no floor area ratio or impervious surface ratio associated with low density residential. So each lot, when it's platted, they'll go for a building permit, and they'll have to meet the code for single family lots and their stormwater requirements in order to build that lot, and will be reviewed rigorously through the building permit and floodplain review process before they can get a building permit. So the subdivision itself doesn't have a minimum or a maximum impervious surface. It is based on stormwater in this condition, and the engineer will speak to that. That's not. There are building setbacks. I do have one correction to the staff report and the statement made earlier by the planner, and that is that only lots 1 and partial lot 2 have a reduced rear setback of from 15 feet to 5 because it backs up to that preservation, and that is compatible with Chapter 5 of the code regarding the landscape buffer and the setbacks. Lots 13 and 14 both have 15-foot rear setbacks. And if they need to, I don't know if we have that, we have an example if we need to show it to you, but it is up on the site plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We've already gone through exhibits 1 to 7.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to take it past 2. Here's a copy of 7.
I would also note under Chapter 5, under the requirements for setbacks under Table 5-1, I think it is, no, Figure 5.1, all of the corner lots do meet their double frontage setback requirements of 20 feet on each frontage. So we are compliant, as I was stating. The building height for Walton County south of the bay is 50 feet. That's a maximum, and it is measured at from natural grade. So that means anything that they bring into the property to be able to raise that up, or any elevation by pilings, they still have to start from the natural grade to meet that 50 feet. This project is proposing 40-foot height limits, maximum 3 stories. Just to let you know that that'll be a part of that as a condition. There are, in Chapter 5.01, we talk about landscaping and buffers. The buffers for the property are related to the fact that around the property are different land uses and different future land use categories. On the east side, which is the highway, or I'm sorry, that's not a highway, it's a Nelly.
A Nelly.
That is not a highway. There's no buffer there, and there will be no buffer to the south. But to the rear and to the north is a 10-foot landscape buffer, which will be preservation. And skipping right along. Parking for each of the lots, as you can imagine, they are not putting in parking calculations for this subdivision, simply that each lot will have to meet parking regulations, which is 1 space per 900 square feet of heated and cooled space, which will be approved through the building permit phase. And think that really covers most of what I wanted to address, unless I accidentally left anything out.
Provided water and sewer.
Oh, yes. So concurrency in chapter 3. My apologies.
Yeah, Ms. Reed mentioned that it'll be regional utilities, water and sewer.
Yes, potable water, sanitary sewer, waste management covers our waste concurrency, and then there's a recreation, parks and recreation requirement where the county requires 6.25 acres for every 1,000 people, and so we are not dedicating a park, therefore they will be likely required to pay a recreation fee of 6% of the assessed value of the land at the time of plat.
Thank you.
So other than the stormwater requirements, and I guess the environmental review, you've rendered an opinion as to all other applicable sections of the Land Development Code and Comprehensive Plan have been met.
That is correct.
And the engineer will have, and the environmentalists have to comment on the others.
Yes, sir. It is my opinion that it meets the code and those sections that I've discussed with you.
And it's just a part of the code, but Exhibit 8's the last portion. Trying to keep up with you, sorry. I don't have any further questions. I'll turn it over.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ward.
Austin Roberts, Roberts.
And what do you do for a living?
I am an environmental consultant with Icarus Ecological Services.
And did you conduct an environmental review?
We were hired to review the report that was done by ERC and to do a site review of the environmental included in that report.
In the was there a review that was done back in 2023 as part of the rezoning?
Correct. Yes.
And was your role basically to take the report, go out to the property and make sure that what they said in the report is still what's out there?
Correct. To check the wetlands and species.
Okay. Did you find any endangered species?
At the time of our inspection, we did not see any endangered species habitat or individuals on site.
And was the property disturbed?
At the time of our inspection, it was not.
Was there evidence of silviculture and former structures out there?
Yes, at the time of our inspection, yes.
So in those locations, it would have been disturbed?
Yes.
Okay. Other than confirm that the report from ERC from 2023 was still current as of the time of your inspection, which was this year?
Yes, April of this year.
Did you have any other role to play in this?
We were to assist in the environmental resource permitting.
Meaning is there 0.49 acres of wetlands that are needing to be mitigated?
Yes, that is correct.
And when you say environmental resource permitting, you're talking about permitting the mitigation of those wetlands?
Yes, to impact those, yes.
And then otherwise, the information was turned over to the engineer to utilize in his work?
That is correct.
I'd like to admit the environmental report. Questions of this particular witness? Was this, do you know if this report was submitted with the application?
This report specifically?
Yes.
Are you talking about with the county application?
Yes.
Yes, that is correct.
You didn't prepare this particular report?
No, I reviewed it and then confirmed on-site conditions.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Say your name and what you do for a living.
Good evening, Curtis Smith with Nautilus Civil Engineers. I'm a registered professional engineer in the state of Florida, also in Tennessee, although that was on inactive status. Plenty of work to do in Florida. Been practicing for approximately 18 years, I believe, and conducted thousands of projects at this point of land development, land planning, civil site design, subdivision development, single, multifamily, all types of commercial and industrial projects. Also have conducted hundreds of traffic studies, traffic impact analyses, stormwater analyses, the like.
Did you perform the stormwater study and plan for this particular development?
I did.
And is this a copy of that report?
Yes, this is a copy of the stormwater management report for this project.
And based on your analysis of the design of stormwater plan, did it meet the requirements of the Land Development Code and Comprehensive Plan?
It does.
Did you do the site plan for this development?
I did.
And did you prepare the application for this development order?
Yes.
And as part of your engineering work, were you charged with assuring that it complies with all the relevant provisions of the Land Development Code and the Comprehensive Plan?
Yes, sir.
And if you could briefly elaborate as to why the stormwater system complies.
If you could, go forward 2 slides, please. So this particular project was kind of uniquely designed as a low-impact development project. And one of the main reasons is because this area of South Walton is now in what is considered an impaired watershed, a HUC 12 impaired watershed from the state of Florida, and which means we've got to prove a net benefit for total phosphorus and nitrogen reduction. Much more difficult water quality standards to attain. And lately we have been designing some single-family stormwater or single-family projects to have permeable roadway systems to effectively eliminate runoff from these projects for low storms. So that we did the same thing on this particular project. This project was required to also detain a 100-year storm per Walton County 5.06.03 Land Development Code, because it discharges ultimately to a mosquito control ditch. That ditch is on this property along the south side. I'll say though that what ended up happening with this design, because of the unique nature of it, was we have virtually no discharge for this project up through and including a 100-year storm. And I'll say virtually because, as you see on the table on the top left, there are a couple hundredths of cubic foot per second runoff, and that's for a recovery orifice on the bottom of our structure. That serves 2 purposes. It helps recover that over a period of about 5 to 10 days after a storm. It also allows the back to enter this pond from the mosquito control ditch, which takes advantage of all that floodplain compensation that we provide on site. So we meet all of the requirements there, primarily through the permeable pavers, and the ponds serve primarily as flood compensation as well as a secondary cleanup of water. I have on the slides here examples of the permeable pavement we actually have a subdivision that's already been constructed with these. We've ran tests on them, ASTM tests, and verified the permeability. This particular product gets about 300 inches an hour in surface permeability, whereas we actually ran 2 tests on the grassed and the forested areas right beside those tests on that project. The grassed area's got 42 inches an hour, and the forested area's got 21 inches an hour. So effectively, we're increasing permeability by 700% by installing this product. That will degrade some over time without the best maintenance possible, but we have to provide maintenance, long-term maintenance plans as part of the state regulations. We've done so, as well as cost estimates for future homeowners associations to look at what they should be budgeting for those maintenance activities. So with that said, not only do we comply with the Land Development Code, we far exceed it by effectively eliminating runoff from this project site. In terms of ISR, it was mentioned before that we don't have an impervious surface. If you would go to the next slide. We don't have an impervious surface ratio for residential as part of the code, but we do assign impervious surface ratio on lots for the purposes of stormwater calculations. This table here is actually in 5.06.03. I helped many years ago, the planning department and public works come up with this table of recommended impervious surfaces for lots. We recommend 65% for lots of these sizes, and I actually use 70% assumed on these just to make sure that we had more than enough. So we far exceed all those requirements as well. The only other thing I'll note is there was a comment on the first staff report regarding the mosquito control ditch. Mosquito control at the time was considering disallowing connections to the ditches. We overcame that comment. We could have simply overcame it just by saying, you know, it's on the property already. You really can't do it. It's in the code, so we've met the code. However, I did go above and beyond with them as an aside to the project and modeled the entire region and showed that it actually is a very substantial benefit to the ditch in the flood conditions. We're using the flood compensation of this project to help that. This project does meet the flood compensation requirements, providing we have actually provided some excess of flood compensation on this project inside of the development requirements. So that's it on stormwater management. Do you want to talk about traffic?
Mr. Smith, in your maintenance plan, who is it that's going to be designated responsible for the maintenance of the pervious paver system?
The permeable paver system would be maintained by the homeowners association for the development.
Bless you.
I'm sorry, did y'all have any questions of the engineer? Then at this point, based on our new system, we don't have any further evidence that we intend to present. I would like to reserve closing argument until after public comment. So now I guess we move into public
comment. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to this project? Anyone? Okay. We will close public comment.
Quick, as I said at the beginning, the issue here is, do we comply with the land development code and the comprehensive plan? The planning department said we did. We said we did, and there isn't any evidence or comment, for that matter, that we don't. And so we believe we're entitled to a development order.
Thank you. Any comments from the commission? I have a couple. I liked what I heard from Mr. Smith. Lots of good things from an engineering perspective put into this development, and I appreciate that. I like what you're doing with the permeable pavers. I like the stormwater attenuation. All that's great. It was rezoned, much to my chagrin, and much to the chagrin of Eglin Air Force Base. So on this particular application, they understand that because it's now low density 4-to-1, they can't object to it, but they objected to the fact that it got rezoned. So I'm just making that comment. But I do like the fact that all the other conservation efforts are put in place, and I appreciate that. And thank you very much for the stormwater discussion and all that paperwork. Any other comments? Then I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. it passes. I would like to make a comment, and this is not particular to your development. This is just developments in general, and I've mentioned this before to our previous planning director. The community I came from, we had HOAs that took over the long-term care of whether it be a stormwater system or vegetation or fences or whatever the plan was. And I understand that there's a rule that says there has to be an HOA, but I also know in experience that we dealt with, HOAs go under, they stop to function. And when they cease to function, then who's left to maintain this stuff? Again, this is not particular to this particular development. I'm just in general, when we're looking at stormwater, permeable pavers, any of the above. And I'm just suggesting that Walton County look into creating some type, we had a special assessment that our community put forth on the development that then created a bank for if these developments went defunct. And therefore, it didn't, the burden of repair did not fall on the existing residents of the county, or this, in my case, it was our community, our city. There was a bank that was specifically for that particular development. I lived in a newer development in our community. We had 12 retention ponds. We had bike path, and all of this stuff was stuff that our HOA was to maintain. However, nobody knew what to do with a retention pond, except me. So, you know, we actually maintained it. We did regular maintenance on the ponds, and there was a lot of ponds that we had to deal with. Now, across town, there was another really small development, 37 houses, had a detention pond. The HOA stopped functioning. Their discharge from their pond had silted up, and in only like 5 or 6 years. So the city then had to come in and maintain it. But we had this fund set aside to be able to do that. So I'm just throwing that out for discussion for the future. So, but thank you all for listening to me. And with that, right. It might, indeed, but I'm just saying it needs to be addressed, so.
Florida also reformed, you know, it used to be after 30 years, if you didn't actually make the effort to renew an HOA, it automatically went under.
Right.
And we've actually had to go resurrect some. Now, they've changed that where it doesn't automatic. You have to, the people in the HOA have to agree, but it still creates an awkward situation. You know, it might be, to add a suggestion, the county may want to consider making available ones that don't have anything but it, like stormwater to maintain, have it where there could be a contract with the county and the county does it.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Mr. Shipman. Thank you very much.
Because, you know, you are correct. A lot of people, they don't know what to do.
Exactly.
And they just ignore it.
Yeah, and usually, you know, the developer kind of handles it while it's under development, and then once it's closed out, then they turn it over to these stupid homeowners. Right, right.
Well, the problem is too, is you have people, they have other things going on, and if it's not a development with a lot of amenities, no one really wants to be involved.
Right.
And
A lot of apathy.
right.
Yeah. Thank you for your comments. We are adjourned.